Good morning students. In the last class we discussed the concept of Ohm's law, Ohm's law and the expression for potential and electric current relation V is equals to IR, and more importantly we discussed the concept of electrical resistance and the factors affecting electrical resistance and different forms of resistance expression I explained, and also I explained resistivity and its definition and conductivity and its definition, and these are the concepts that we covered in the last class. Let us start today's class by discussing few questions on the previous classes, based on the previous classes. The first question, so the question is quantity of electric charge that has passed through a surface area of 2 centimeter square. Surface area of 2 centimeter square varies with time according to the relation q is equals to 4 t cube plus 5 t plus 6, where t is in seconds, and the question is instantaneous, calculate instantaneous current at t is equal to 1 second and find current density in the given material. So, that is what the question. Now, let us do the problem. So, first so given electric charge is given by 4 t cube plus 5 t plus 6. So, this is the charge given, which is varying according to time, like this 4 t cube plus 5 t plus 6. Now, instantaneous current in the material I is equals to d q by dt, it is rate of flow of charge d q by dt. Now, differentiating the given equation, d by dt of the q value 4 t cube plus 5 t plus 6. Now, differentiating this will get differentiation of t cube is 3 t square. So, 3 into 4 is a 12 t. So, 3 4 is 12 t square, 12 t square plus, and 5 differentiation of 5 t, 5 into differentiation of t with respect to t, it is 1. So, 5 into 1 you will get. So, 12 t square plus 5 is the current in terms of time. Now, the question is instantaneous current at time t is equal to 1 second. Now, substitute the given time value, you will get the required answer. So, therefore, current at t is equal to 1 second is I is equal to 12 into t square 1. So, 1 square is 1, that is 12 plus 5 will get 17 amperes. That is the answer for this problem. So, instantaneous current at a time t is equal to 1 second is 17 amperes. Now, the second question. So, first question is about instantaneous current at t is equals to 1 second. Now, second question is find the current density at that particular time in the material. Now, current density, we know current density is I is equals to J is equals to I by A, current per unit area, where current we already calculated, that is 17 amperes divided by given area of cross section of the material is 2 centimeter square, that is 2 into, in SI units it is 2 into 10 power minus 4 meter square. So, it is ampere per meter square is the unit of current density. Now, simplifying this, 17 by 2 into this 10 power minus 4 becomes plus 4. So, the value will be 8.5 into 10 power 4 ampere per meter square is the answer to this problem. So, first question is about instantaneous current and second question is about calculating current density. So, that is the solution for the first problem of calculating instantaneous current and current density. Now, let us move on to the next question. Next question is given as in a neon discharge tube there are 2.9 into 10 to the power of 18 neon plus ions per second are passing from right to, from left to right, that means towards right, and 1.2 into 10 to the power of 18 electrons per second are moving to the left. Then calculate equivalent amount of current. So, now let us do this problem. So, let us write the given data. So, given data is n1, that is the number of positive charges that are moving per second to the right. It is given by 2.9 into 10 to the power of 18 neon plus ions moving to the right, moving to the right in 1 second. At the same time, n1, that is number of electrons moving to the left in the discharge tube, it is 1.2 into 10 to the power of 18 electrons to the left per second. So, time is 1 second. Then electric current is given by I is equal to n1 plus n2, there is a number of positive charges plus number of negative charges divided by time into charge of one particle. So, n1 plus n2 into E divided by T. So, where E is the charge of one electron, that is 1.6 into 10 to the power of minus 19 coulomb. Now, substituting the given values directly, you will get the answer. n1 is 2.9 into 10 power 18 and n2 is 1.2 into 10 to the power of 18 divided by per second. It is mentioned as per second. So, time is 1 second. So, 1 into 1.6 into 10 to the power of minus 19. Simplifying this, you will get. So, 2 points, so you can take 10 power 18 common. So, 2.9 plus 1.2 into 1.6 into 10 to the power of minus 19, and if I take this 10 power 18 common, it will be into 10 to the power of plus 18. Now, simplifying this, that is 2.9 plus 1.2, it will be 4.1 into 1.6 into 10 to the power of minus 19 plus 18, you will get minus 1. So, it will be, so if you multiply these two, you will get 0.656 amperes. That is the answer for this problem. So, that is the solution. Now, let us discuss one more problem based on drift velocity. So, based on drift velocity, let us discuss one problem. Question number 3. A wire carrying a current of length 4 meters, carrying a current of 2 amperes, I is equal to 2 amperes, and the area of cross section of the given wire is A is equals to 1 millimeter square. So, area of cross section of the wire is 1 millimeter square. Given that the charge density of the material of the wire is 10 to the power of 29 per meter cube, 10 to the power of 29 electrons per meter cube, that is charge density of the material. Then calculate the drift speed of electron in the wire. First question is calculate drift speed of electrons, and the second question is calculate time required for the electron to move from one end to the other end of the given wire. That is what, calculate the time required to move from one end to other end of the wire, means total time taken to travel entire length of the wire we have to calculate. So, these are the two questions. So, given data, length of the wire is given, electric current through the wire is given, and area of cross section of the wire is given, and the number, that is the charge density of the material is also given. Now, we know that the relation between drift velocity and electric current, we discussed it already, that is given by I is equal to NEA into Vd. So, where Vd is drift velocity of electrons. Now, getting drift velocity Vd is equal to I divided by N E A. Substituting the value of given physical quantities, that is current is given 2 amperes and number of electrons per unit volume N is 10 to the power of 29 into charge of electron, which is a standard value, that is 1.6 into 10 to the power of minus 19 into area 1 millimeter square. So, if you convert this into meters, so 10 power minus 3 whole square, that is 10 power minus 6 meter square is area, that is 10 to the power of minus 6. Now, substituting, so simplifying this, you will get 2 divided by 1.6 into, so 10 power 29 minus 19 plus 10 minus 6, it will be 4. So, 10 power plus 4 becomes minus 4 in the 10 power minus 4 in the numerator. So, it will be 2 divided by 0.8 into 10 to the power of minus 4. So, if you simplify this, you will get 1.25 into 10 to the power of minus 4 meter per second. So, this is the drift speed of electrons. Remember 1.25 into 10 to the power of minus 4 meter per second, which is very small value. So, this value, so even without electric field, the electrons will be moving inside the material with a speed of the order of 10 to the power of 6 meter per second, but this drift speed is very small compared to this value. So, but the question here is, even the drift speed is very small, how these electrical appliances will respond immediately when you supply electric current, like when you switch on the bulb, immediately it will start working. So, how it work? Because even the electrons are moving very slowly, how it work very fastly, like when you give current, immediately it will start working. So, what is the reason behind that? So, how it will work actually, even though the drift speed is very small. Now, let me explain that. Even though the drift speed is very small, suppose if this is the given wire, now if this is the circuit, this is switch. Now, when I close the switch, current will start flowing in the wire immediately and the electrical appliance will start working. That means, by the moment when you close the switch, the electric field will set up with the speed of light in vacuum, that is we know speed of light in vacuum is 3 into 10 power 8 meter per second. So, with this much speed, the electric field setup takes place inside the material, so that immediately the electrical appliance will start working, even though the drift speed is very small for the electrons inside the materials. That is the reason for this. Now, let us calculate the time required for the electron to move from one end to the other end of the wire. That is, we know drift speed 1.25 into 10 to the power of minus 4 meter per second. Now, the time taken, so we know speed is equals to distance by time taken. Now, time value is the distance by speed. So, where the length of the wire, that is the distance travelled by the electron when it is moving from one end to other end, is equal to length of the wire. So, that is 4 meters divided by drift speed is 1.25 into 10 to the power of minus 4. So, if you calculate this, you will get 4 divided by 1.25 into 10 to the power of 4. So, this if we calculate approximately, you will get 8.89 hours, 8.89 hours. So, which is a very a long time. That means, it will take 9 hours, almost 9 hours to travel from one end to other end of a 4 meter wire with this much speed. So, that is what I told you, even though the drift speed is very small, the electric field setup inside the metal takes place with the speed of light. That is how the electrical appliances will start working immediately when you supply electric current. So, that is what the concept of this problem. So, now coming to the concept, next concept in the electricity. So, yesterday we discussed Ohm's law, and now today let us start the concept by discussing the limitations of Ohm's law, and then we will proceed further. Now let us start the class by discussing limitations of Ohm's law. Limitations of Ohm's law. So we know that according to Ohm's law, the current and potential V directly proportional to I at a constant temperature. The temperature constant, that is Ohm's law statement that we discussed in yesterday's class, V proportional to I. So now the Ohm's law is not a universal law, first thing, and it is obeyed by only some materials. The materials which obey Ohm's law are known as ohmic materials. Ohmic materials, or you can call them as linear materials. Ohmic materials or linear materials which obey Ohm's law. Obey Ohm's law in the sense when you take such materials, if you try to increase the current, if you try to increase the potential difference and noting the value of currents, if you draw a graph between the voltage and current, taking voltage along x axis and current along voltage along y axis, current along x axis, if you plot a graph, you will get a straight line. That is what the meaning of linear materials. So the relation between current and voltage for that materials is a straight line. So like this. So now if you find the slope of this straight line, let this is the angle theta. Now slope tan theta, that is equals to tan theta, that is equals to, so V divided by, if you take a small triangle here, so this value will be delta V, that is a change in voltage, and this value will be delta I. So if you take the slope of this particular graph between V and I, that is tan theta, that is delta V by delta I, which will give you resistance of the material. So this kind of materials for which the relation between current and voltage is a straight line, they are known to be ohmic materials or linear materials. Similarly, you can have a graph between I and V. So if you take I along y axis, current along potential along x axis, again it will be a straight line. So both either V versus I or I versus V graph, both will be straight lines for this kind of materials which are known to be ohmic materials or linear materials. Again for this graph, if you find slope, it will be tan theta is equal to delta I by delta V will come, which is a reciprocal of resistance. Remember, this is one of the problem solving method in competitive exams. They will give one graph between current and voltage and ask to find out resistance. So just by finding the slope of that graph, you can find out the resistance of the material. So if it is V versus I graph, directly slope will give you resistance. If it is I versus V graph, it reciprocal of the slope, that is tan theta is equals to 1 by resistance. So R is equals to 1 by tan theta, that is 1 by slope will give you resistance of the material for that graph I versus V. So these are ohmic materials. Now let us see what is meant by non-ohmic materials. I told you that Ohm's law is not a universal law, so it has many limitations. Non-ohmic materials. So I will write some materials here. First, semiconductor devices. Semiconductor devices like transistors and diodes and thermistor and mica. So all these materials will not obey Ohm's law. That means when you apply the potential to a diode, for example diode, which we are going to discuss later. So when you take current versus the voltage graph for the diode, it will be like this. It will not be a linear relation, it will be a curved relation. That means here current is not directly proportional to potential difference for all these materials. That means they are not obeying Ohm's law. So that is why we can say the Ohm's law is not a universal law. It has many limitations, and these materials will not obey Ohm's law. That is why they are known to be non-ohmic materials or non-linear materials. Non-linear materials. So the materials which does not obey Ohm's law are called non-ohmic or non-linear materials. For them, the graph between current and voltage will not be a straight line, and it will be a curved graph like this. Okay. So this is the graph between voltage and current for a diode like this. It will come. So all these devices or materials will not obey Ohm's law. That is why they are known as non-ohmic materials. Remember, the relation V is equal to IR. The relation V is equal to IR can be used for all the materials. So in the even next coming chapters also we are going to use this relation, but this is not Ohm's law. The Ohm's law means the potential directly proportional to electric current at a constant temperature. So that is Ohm's law. So current and potential must be directly proportional to each other in that device. Then we can say that device is obeying Ohm's law. But this relation V is equal to IR is just a relation between potential and electric current. So this is not Ohm's law. This is Ohm's law. V proportional to I at constant temperature is Ohm's law. So remember the difference. So this relation we are going to use in many cases in further concepts, but this is not, it does not mean that we are using Ohm's law everywhere for all the devices. So here this is just a relation between potential and current, whereas Ohm's law means potential and current for any device, if it is directly proportional to each other, if it is a linear relation, then we can say that device is obeying Ohm's law. Then it is called ohmic device. That is the difference. Be clear about this. And that is about limitations of Ohm's law. Remember, it is not a universal law. So keep this also in mind. Universal law means which is applicable everywhere for every material, but this Ohm's law is not like that. So it is applicable only for some materials. Ohmic materials nothing but metals. So for all metals that too at low temperatures they obey Ohm's law. V proportional to I is obeyed by metals at low temperatures. That is why metals are ohmic materials. So that is the concept. Now let us move on to the next concept in the chapter, that is resistor. Now let us discuss about resistor and how to calculate resistor value using color codes. Now let us discuss about resistor. Generally an electric circuit will have two types of elements in a circuit. So they are known as active elements and passive elements. Active components and passive components. Active components and passive components. So active components are nothing but the components which supply energy to the circuit, like battery. Battery is an example for active component, cell and dynamo. So all these are examples for the active components in an electrical circuit, whereas passive components means the components which take that energy supplied by these active components. For example, resistor is one of the passive components, and capacitor and inductor. So these are some examples for the passive components which will take energy supplied by these active components. Now let us discuss about this resistor alone. So in the later chapters you are going to study about this capacitor and inductor in detail. Now let us focus on this resistor. Now coming to the definition of resistor, a resistor is a passive component in electrical circuit which will convert So this resistor is a passive component which converts electrical energy into heat energy in the circuit. So that is how it will, so it will take energy from the active components and it will convert that energy into heat energy, and that is what resistor means. Now coming to the circuit symbol of resistor, the resistor with a constant value can be represented like this. This is circuit symbol. resistor with the constant value can be represented in a circuit with this symbol. Now a resistor with the variable resistance, can be represented like this. So this is variable resistor, remember, variable resistance. And another way of representing this variable resistance is this one. So this is generally known as a rheostat. Rheostat is a circuit element using which we can vary the electric current by varying resistance in the circuit. So these terminals A and B are the lower connections of rheostat, and this will be the upper connection of rheostat. So this is the circuit symbol in different cases, variable resistor, and this is rheostat symbol, which is also a variable resistor, and this one is one of the important one. So which is nothing but the resistor with a constant value. Now let us discuss the resistor and the different types of resistors. So there are two types of resistors. So in general, in electric circuits and electronic circuits, we need more, that is a variety of resistors. That means resistors of different values we require in electrical and in electronic circuits. So that is why we need to learn about the types of resistors and which are better option for the electrical circuits and electronic circuits. So now let us start discussing the types of resistors. So there are two types of resistors. First one is wire bound resistors, and the second one, very important one, carbon resistors. Wire bound resistors and carbon resistors. So coming to the first one, wire bound resistors, and these resistors will be in the form of a coil on a insulator frame, and they will be somewhat bigger in size. So the materials generally chosen for these wire bound resistors are manganese, constantan and nichrome. So these are the materials generally used for making the wire bound resistors. And this carbon resistor, and the disadvantage of these resistors is they are big in size, and there cannot be more variety of values with these wire bound resistors. So that is what the disadvantage of this particular wire bound resistors. And next category of resistors, that is carbon resistors, they are made up of carbon and the carbon resistors looks like this. So it will be in a cylindrical shape with two wire leads at both ends, and it will contain 4 color bands like this. So the value of resistance of the carbon resistors indicated in the form of 4 or 3 color bands on it, and the color bands will be like this. So this is the shape of carbon resistor. So this is band 1, band 2, band 3 and band 4, like that. This is the shape of carbon resistor. So the color codes, the color bands will indicate the value of resistance of this particular resistor. Now let us see how to calculate the value of resistance using the color codes in detail. So remember, the advantage of these carbon resistors is they are very small in size. There can be more variety of values in carbon resistors, and another advantage is they are cheaper in cost compared to the wire bound resistors, and that is why they are chosen in most of the electric and electronic circuits. Now let us discuss the color codes and calculating the resistance. So this is carbon resistor, first band, so these two are wire leads to connect in the circuit. So let this band 1, band 2, band 3 and band 4, 4 bands, 3 or 4 bands, generally 4, otherwise there can be 3 bands also, 4th band may be absent for some resistors. Now let us describe each band. So band 1, first color indicates first digit in the value of resistance, and the second color indicates second digit in the value of resistance, whereas third color, that is band 3, indicates the multiplier, and band 4 indicates tolerance. Band 4 indicates tolerance of the resistance. Now let us see how to calculate the value using color codes. So make a note of it. So band 1 indicate first digit value, and band 2 second digit, and band 3 indicates multiplier, and band 4 indicates tolerance. Now let me explain how to calculate the resistance using color codes. Now let us now let me explain the table for the color codes. So first column is a color name in the first column, second column code, and third column is the multiplier value, and last column is for tolerance. Remember, just remembering this sentence, you can remember all the codes for the colors. So these capital letters especially in the sentence. Okay, that capital letters, just observe the capital letters in the sentence. So BB Roy of Great Britain has very good wife with gold and silver ornaments. Now let us write the codes one by one. So first take the order. First B indicates black color, and second B brown color, and next red or red color, and O orange color, and then Y yellow color, and then G, first G indicates green color, and then B blue color, and then V very good, so there is V violet color, and then next G, V very good, so this G indicates a gray color, so gray color, and then W white color, and then gold silver, and then no color. So remember the last, first gold, then silver, then no color. If there is no fourth band, for that we need to have some tolerance value here, so that I will write at the end. So first coming to the color codes, so just start from 0. So black code is 0, and then 1, then for red 2, orange 3, yellow 4, green 5, blue 6, 7 for violet, 8 for grey, 9 for white, and there will be no codes for the gold and silver. So just they indicate tolerance. Okay. Next multiplier, for black multiplier is 10 power 0, for brown multiplier is 10 power 1, for red it is 10 power 2, and then for orange it is 10 power 3. Just take the same numbers and write 10 powers, that is 10 power 4, 10 power 5. Next for green 10 power 5, for blue it is 10 power 6, then for violet 10 power 7, for grey 10 power 8, for white it is 10 power 9. Now whereas gold and silver also given sometimes in colors, color band, so that gold multiplier will be 10 power minus 1, for silver multiplier will be 10 power minus 2. So remember these two also, 10 power minus 1 and 10 power minus 2. Now tolerance for gold plus or minus 5%, and tolerance for silver plus or minus, so I will write tolerance values here clearly. So for gold tolerance is plus or minus 5%, for silver plus or minus 10%, and for no color, if there is no fourth band, you can take a plus or minus 20%. So this is the way to remember the color codes. Just with this one sentence you can remember all the colors, and you can calculate the resistance of any given carbon resistors for any color bands. That is the concept. So remember the sentence and make a table, and then you can solve the problems. So just practicing some problems you will get a clear idea. Now let us discuss one or two examples based on this carbon resistors color codes. The first example problem is, so carbon resistor is having 4 color bands. The first one is brown, second one is red, third one is yellow, and last color is silver. So carbon resistor is having color bands brown, red, yellow and silver. Brown color, first one is brown color, second one is red color, third one is yellow color, and last color is silver. Now calculate the resistance of given carbon resistor using color codes. Now let us do it. So I told you there are first band indicates first digit. So first band is brown color. So brown color color code is 1. So first band indicates first significant digit, that is 1, and then second color is red. So red code is 2. So second band indicates a second significant value in the resistance, that is 1, and then write 2. So 1, then second color red color code is 2, and then third band indicates multiplier for yellow. What is third color there? Yellow. So yellow multiplier is 10 power 4. So 12 into 10 to the power of 4, and whereas the fourth color indicates a tolerance, so that is silver tolerance. I told you it is plus or minus 10%. So this is the value of resistance. So 1, 2, that is 12 into 10 to the power of 4 plus or minus 10%. So let me explain once again. First band, that is a brown color band, its code is 1. So write 1. And second band, red color band, so red color code is 2. So write 2. So 1, 2, 12 into, then third color indicates multiplier. So multiplier for third, that is yellow color is, so just look for the third color multiplier, that is 10 power 4. So 12 into 10 power 4, whereas fourth color is silver color that is tolerance value is plus or minus 10%. This is how you can calculate the resistance of the carbon resistors using color codes. Now let me discuss one more example. So carbon resistor is having color bands. First band red color, second band blue color, and fourth band is black color. Third band is black color, fourth band is gold. Now calculate the value of resistance. Red, blue, black and gold. So red, blue, and then black, and then gold. So 4 color bands are there. Now let us calculate the value of this particular resistor. First red code value, so 2. So first digit 2, and then second color is blue. So blue color code, that is 6. So write 6, 26, 26, 26 into third color is black, black multiplier value 10 power 0, 10 power 0 plus or minus, that is last color is gold, tolerance color is gold, gold tolerance is plus or minus 5%. So, we know 10 power 0 is 1, so 26 plus or minus 5% is the value of resistance of the given resistor. So, this is how the color codes, and using color codes this is how we can do the problems, a very important method. So, in the previous NEET exam there are some, so in few years they asked the question about the color codes, calculating resistance by using color codes or by giving color codes, sorry, by giving the value they will ask the color band sequence in the problem. So, first they will give one value and find out which of the color sequence is correct for the given value of resistance, like that they will ask. So, that kind of questions I will discuss in the next class. So, first I try to understand how to remember these color codes using this sentence. B.B. Roy of Great Britain has a very good wife with gold and silver ornaments. Just by knowing this sentence you can draw this table and then you can do the calculation of resistance for any given color sequence. So, that is all for today's class. So, in the next class we are going to continue with the same topic. First I will discuss how to do problem when value is given, how to find out color sequence, that I will discuss, and then we move on to the very important concept in the chapter, combinations of resistors, series combination and parallel combination of resistors and different problems on that. So, that is all for today. Thank you very much.